My guy, Freddie P, man. Let's get right into it. Diddy, he got indicted. How you feel about that?
Sh- it was a surprise to me, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Strictly for the purposes of financial gain for those who have access to her estate, including Clive Davis,
Including
mostly
Clive
Clive.
Davis.
The courtroom was electric with tension today as fresh allegations and jaw-dropping revelations about Sean Diddy Combs sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. If you thought you'd heard it all about the scandal, buckle up, because what went down today has left even the most seasoned insiders stunned. From resurfaced recordings to explosive testimonies, the trial has become a spectacle of secrets unraveling, secrets that could shake the music industry to its very core.
Me and you did so many interviews. I never got to ask you, have you ever been to a freak off?
No, but what I can say, but I don't know, cause I don't know what the freak out look like, right? Right? Is it in a private house? Is it in a party or club? Cause I've been to clubs where I walked in and people was doing, and it was on behalf of Bad Boy.
Picture this: a packed courtroom, journalists scribbling furiously, and a visibly tense Diddy sitting behind the defense table. The temperature in the room seemed to drop when bombshell evidence was introduced, a series of recordings from Diddy's infamous parties. These weren't just any gatherings, they were the stuff of urban legend, whispered about in the darkest corners of the industry. But today, those whispers turned into deafening screams as the recordings were played for the jury. The footage allegedly showed intimate moments between Diddy and several men, including none other than legendary music mogul Clive Davis. Yes, you heard that right. Clive Davis, the man who has been a towering figure in the music industry for decades, was dragged into the scandal in a way that no one could have anticipated. The prosecution described these recordings as the smoking gun in a case that has already exposed an underbelly of exploitation, manipulation, and secrecy. The jury watched in stunned silence as the prosecution outlined the implication. This wasn't just about Diddy's personal life. It pointed to a deeply entrenched culture of control and coercion within the industry. What makes this revelation even more shocking is the context surrounding Clive Davis. Davis, who came out as bisexual in his memoir years ago, has always been seen as a trailblazer in breaking barriers. But the idea of him being romantically linked to Diddy? That's a twist no one saw coming. Suge Knight, of all people, had allegedly hinted at this years ago, claiming that Davis and Diddy weren't just close, they were lovers. At the time, the claim was dismissed as one of Knight's many outlandish allegations. But now, with these recordings surfacing in court, the whispers have turned into an undeniable roar.
Oh, I don't get down like that. But when you're around Diddy, bruh, when you're around Diddy, it gets tricky because you got no other choice but to see it. It's right in your face. You know what I'm saying? It's like, mind you, it's not an invite. It's just, it's just happening.
And if you think this is just about two powerful men caught in a moment of intimacy, think again. The implications are far-reaching. The defense is scrambling to downplay the footage, calling it irrelevant and an invasion of privacy. But the prosecution is framing it as a key to understanding the power dynamics at play, a twisted web of influence where secrets were currency and those in vulnerable positions were preyed upon. It's not just about Diddy's private life. It's about the culture of silence and complicity within an industry that has long thrived on keeping its dirtiest secrets hidden. But it doesn't stop there. Freddie P, a former protege of Diddy's from making the band, added fuel to the fire with his testimony today. Freddie described a pattern of behavior that paints a damning picture of Diddy's private life. He claimed that Diddy had a penchant for targeting men who were struggling, offering them financial incentives and career opportunities in exchange for their compliance.
Jurors heard testimony from a key prosecution witness in Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial in New York City Tuesday. His ex-girlfriend and singer Cassie Ventura spoke about her 10-year relationship with Combs and the psychological, physical, and abuse she says she endured. Ventura first leveled accusations against Combs in a 2023 lawsuit, which was settled a day later. Dozens of men and women have filed suits against him since 2020.
Freddie's testimony wasn't just about Diddy's alleged advances. He also recounted chilling stories of how Diddy would use his power to intimidate and silence those who dared to push back. One particularly haunting moment came when Freddie described a confrontation with Diddy, where the mogul allegedly threatened to shut off every light on his block and have him popped if he didn't fall in line. The courtroom was silent as Freddie detailed the psychological toll of working under someone who wielded such immense power with reckless abandon. And then there's the Clive Davis angle. While Davis himself hasn't commented on the allegations, his name being dragged into this scandal raises serious questions about how far-reaching the alleged culture of exploitation goes. Davis, who has been celebrated for his contributions to music, is now being scrutinized in a way that could tarnish his legacy. His memoir may have been a moment of liberation, but the courtroom revelations are casting a shadow over his storied career. Could this be the beginning of a reckoning for an industry that has long turned a blind eye to its darkest corners?
What was Puffy doing at the party?
Oh, That had done disappeared. He had like his own little section though. Like it was like me, Jadakiss. It was D Block, I think. All us is over here smoking, gambling and shit. I think. It was like white girls here, and it was like some fucking right here. Scissor, hard on scissoring, like white girls though.
As if the day couldn't get any more dramatic, the prosecution dropped another bombshell by suggesting that the FBI is actively investigating Diddy's connections to these allegations. Apparently, Clive Davis himself was under pressure from federal authorities to cooperate in the case against Diddy. This isn't just a courtroom drama, it's a high-stakes game with federal agencies involved, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If the FBI's involvement is as deep as it seems, this trial could blow the lid off a culture of secrecy that has protected powerful figures for far too long. It's hard not to wonder, how deep does this rabbit hole go? Are Diddy and Davis just the tip of the iceberg in a much larger systemic issue within the music industry? And what about the other names being whispered in the hallways of the courtroom? Freddie P hinted that there are more artists out there with stories to tell, but they're too afraid to come forward. This is just the beginning, he said, leaving the courtroom buzzing with speculation. As the day ended, one thing was clear. This trial is not just about Diddy. It's about an industry that has thrived on power imbalances, where the most vulnerable are often the most exploited. The recordings, the testimonies, the whispers of FBI involvement, they all point to a scandal that could redefine how we think about the entertainment world. And as the trial continues, the world will be watching, waiting for the next shocking revelation. Because if today proved anything, it's that this story is far from over. Stay tuned. The courtroom drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs is no longer just a scandal. It's becoming a full-blown reckoning that could upend the entire entertainment industry. As the trial barrels forward, new revelations and testimonies are emerging at a dizzying pace, each more shocking than the last. What started with whispers about Diddy's infamous parties has now spiraled into an intricate web of allegations, implicating not just Diddy but an entire culture of secrecy and unchecked power. And today, the focus shifted to the darkest corners of his empire, places where fame and fortune collided with fear and coercion.
You see the like, you feel me? Like that type of party, like they don't hide it. They like everybody having fun. Everything was just fun. So I don't know if it was Freakoff or.
Freddie P's earlier testimony about Diddy's manipulative behavior was just the beginning. New witnesses have stepped forward, painting an even more disturbing picture of the Freakoffs that Diddy allegedly orchestrated. These weren't mere after-hours parties. They were carefully engineered spectacles where Diddy wielded complete control. One former employee, who spoke under the condition of anonymity, described these events as ritualistic in nature, with every detail meticulously planned. The people who attended weren't there because they wanted to be, the source revealed. They were there because they felt they had no choice. Diddy had a way of making you feel like he was your only lifeline. And the details of these gatherings? They're almost impossible to believe. According to multiple accounts, Diddy insisted on recording everything that happened, capturing moments that were deeply personal, deeply compromising, and deeply damaging. These recordings allegedly became part of his arsenal, a way to ensure loyalty and silence from those in his orbit.
Talking about her experience in that video, how she had a big movie premiere that was coming up, and what had happened was they were engaged in a freak-off that she didn't really want to be a part of, and Combs had punched her. She knew she had a black eye. She felt she had to get out of there, so she waited for a moment when he was occupied. She said he may have been on the phone, in the shower.
Behind the scenes, whispers are now surfacing about how Diddy allegedly orchestrated his influence not just through his social circles, but also by cultivating a network of enablers. These weren't just assistants and employees, they were individuals strategically placed in key positions across the industry. Some were tasked with scouting potential targets for his infamous gatherings, while others were responsible for ensuring that no incriminating information ever leaked to the public. Former insiders have claimed that Diddy fostered an environment of absolute loyalty by rewarding those who followed his orders with money, industry opportunities, and access to his inner circle. Yet for those who dared to defy him, the consequences were severe. Careers could be ruined with a single phone call, and reputations were destroyed overnight. The power dynamics extended far beyond his parties, creating a culture of fear that kept people in line, even years after they had left his orbit. Adding another layer to the intrigue is the involvement of high-profile celebrities who were once connected to Diddy's empire. Names like Usher and Justin Bieber, who rose to fame during their time under Diddy's mentorship, are being brought up in conversations about what they may have witnessed. Usher in particular has previously hinted at curious things he observed while staying at Diddy's mansion as a teenager, though he stopped short of providing specific details. Industry insiders are now questioning whether these young artists were exposed to the darker side of Diddy's world, and whether they too were subjected to the manipulation and control that has been described in court. These revelations are raising uncomfortable questions about how much the public truly knows about the origins of some of the biggest success stories in music, and at what cost those successes came.
And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21, she was young, she didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
And then there's the financial aspect of Diddy's operations, which is now under intense scrutiny. Federal investigators are reportedly diving into how his alleged activities were funded and whether any of his business ventures were used to conceal illicit dealings. From his record label to his luxury brands, Diddy built an empire that seemed untouchable. But behind the glitz and glamour, investigators believe there may have been a darker financial web, one designed to sustain his power while keeping his critics silenced. Questions are being raised about whether funds from his businesses were ever used to pay off potential accusers or to fund the very recordings that now form the backbone of the case against him. If these allegations hold weight, they could shatter the image of Diddy as a self-made mogul and reveal a far more sinister structure propping up his success. Adding to the mounting tension is the role of Clive Davis, whose name continues to resurface in connection with this scandal. While Davis has yet to publicly address the allegations, insiders are beginning to connect the dots between his long-standing association with Diddy and the systemic issues now being exposed. Davis, who has been a towering figure in the music industry for decades, has always been known as a shrewd businessman, but new claims suggest that his relationship with Diddy may have gone far beyond professional collaboration. Was Davis complicit in the culture of control and exploitation that Diddy allegedly perfected? Or was he, as some have speculated, a victim of the same power dynamics?
With no training in music,
none.
Did you think you'd be good at this?
I never thought I would have a musical ear. I never thought I'd have a natural gift.
One particularly damning piece of evidence came in the form of testimony from an industry insider who claimed that Davis was aware of Diddy's methods and even benefited from them. Clive knew, the insider stated. He knew what was happening behind closed doors, and he didn't stop it. In fact, he encouraged it because it kept the machine running. The artist stayed in line, the deals got made, and the money kept flowing. This explosive claim raises serious questions about how deep the rot goes and how many others might be implicated before this trial is over. But the most jaw-dropping moment of the day came when prosecutors introduced evidence of federal involvement in the case. The FBI, it seems, has been quietly investigating Diddy for years, building a case that goes far beyond the current allegations. According to court documents, federal agents have been tracking Diddy's activities across state lines, focusing on his alleged use of intimidation, blackmail, and even threats of violence to maintain his empire. One federal agent, speaking off the record, described the investigation as one of the most complex and far-reaching cases we've ever worked on. The implication? Diddy's alleged actions weren't just unethical. They may have been criminal on a level that could bring his entire empire crashing down.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced as well.
She's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs.
And then there's the testimony of Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones, a producer who worked closely with Diddy in recent years. Jones, who has filed his own lawsuit against Diddy, described a chilling pattern of behavior that echoed the allegations made by Freddie P. and others. According to Jones, Diddy used his position of power to manipulate and control everyone around him. He made you feel like you owed him, Jones said. He'd tell you that he made you, that without him you'd be nothing, and then he'd use that to justify anything he wanted from you. Jones also alleged that Diddy's influence extended far beyond his immediate circle, affecting record labels, media outlets, and even law enforcement. He was untouchable, Jones claimed. At least that's what we all thought. But perhaps the most shocking revelation came when Jones described an incident that occurred during a recording session in 2023. According to Jones, Diddy became enraged when a member of his team questioned his authority. What followed was a display of power so intense that it left everyone in the room shaken. He told us, "I can end all of you with a single phone call," Jones recalled, and we believed him. Because he could. What's becoming increasingly clear is that this trial is about more than just Diddy. It's about an entire industry built on silence, secrecy, and the exploitation of the vulnerable. And as more people come forward, the spotlight is widening to include other powerful figures who may have played a role in enabling this culture. From Clive Davis to Suge Knight to the unnamed executives who turned a blind eye, The question is no longer just about what Diddy did, it's about who knew and who let it happen.
Yeah, that's right. Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie, walked in with her head held high and did not make eye contact with Sean Combs. But she did describe a relationship that lasted over 10 years with Combs in which she says he was the one in control.
And let's not forget the victims, whose lives have been forever altered by their experiences. Cassie's testimony about the toll Diddy's behavior took on her is a stark reminder of the human cost of this scandal. Her bravery in speaking out has inspired others to come forward, but it has also highlighted just how much work remains to be done. How many more stories like hers are waiting to be told, and how many more victims are still too afraid to speak.
It's just my type of party, man. Just stay to yourself, mind your business. I'm not even looking at you, nasty bitch. Like, I'm just like, I know y'all not looking at me. You get what I'm saying? At that time, man, you just happy to smoke, man, in privacy, man. We was just happy to get away from everybody and get our man. Like, when I hear stuff about Puffy right now, I'm like, yo, how far this nigga came, because...
As a trial moves forward, the stakes couldn't be higher. The revelations we've seen so far are just the beginning, and there's no telling what new bombshells might emerge in the days to come. But one thing is certain, this is a moment of reckoning not just for Diddy, but for an entire industry that has long operated in the shadows. Will this trial finally bring about the change that so many have been calling for? Or will it be yet another chapter in a story of power, corruption, and impunity? We want to hear from you. What do you think about the latest revelations? Do you believe this trial will lead to meaningful accountability, or are we destined to see history repeat itself? And what about the other figures implicated in this scandal? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation we can't afford to ignore. The truth is coming to light, and it's up to all of us to make sure it doesn't get buried again. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.